ICE is using a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. They took him and used him to lure his father out. And now they've detained them both. The family doesn't know where they are. This is the worst of the damn worst. This is not humanity in Minnesota, folks. If you can look at this 5-year-old and actually with a straight face still support and be silent in the face of what the Trump administration and Kristi Noem is doing, I just can't even believe this is America. I will not vote for a damn penny to Kristi Noem or ICE in this Congress. This is a time where we should all be outraged. If this doesn't pierce through your humanity as a Republican member of Congress, you can't speak out about this, then you've got no humanity left.
Let's start off by understanding one thing. If you haven't figured it out yet, the mainstream media and the politicians, like whoever that lady was at the start of the video, they're the enemy of all sides. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, whatever. You name it, that's them. Why? Because they know the truth, yet for political reasons, they spin it to make it to where you're believing something that is not, something else. The media should be there to report facts. Politicians should know better and refrain from regurgitating the agenda. But instead, they're reporting what they want you to believe and how they want you to think, how you should vote, because if you vote, they stay in power. That's their drug.
PRO conducted targeted enforcement operation to arrest Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien who was released back into the interior of the United States by the previous administration. When officers approached Conejo Arias, he and his child were in a vehicle. Arias fled from law enforcement on foot, abandoning his child in the middle of winter in a vehicle. One of our officers stayed behind with that child while other officers apprehended his father. After conducting the arrest, my officers stayed with the child. They cared for him, took him to get something to eat from a drive-through restaurant, and spent hours ensuring he was taken care of. Again, my officers did that, not his father. My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door. Let me say it again. They saw the young boy and they refused to open the door and take him back. This is the human side of the job that my officers do. They are family men and women. They have children of their own. They sacrifice everything for their families. I know for a fact that they were heartbroken to see the child's own family leave him behind. Fortunately, Conejo Arias eventually requested that his child stay with him. We do everything in our power not to separate families. So they took him back together to Minneapolis, here to the city, to the ICE facility for processing, and now they are being well cared for at a family residential center, pending their immigration proceedings. This is the real face of ICE, ERO, Border Patrol, and our allied partners.
Back when I was on patrol, I remember hearing that the state patrols, there was a call that came on the radio, state patrols were chasing a suspect in a car, big Monte Carlo, I think it was what type of car it was. And, he was heading towards our area. So I was near my location, so I, of course, headed that way to assist. And when I got there, they had the driver already in custody. He was a few hundred yards away from the car. The car was there with the doors open, and, he ditched it trying to get away from them. When I looked inside the car, there was a 4-year-old baby in the back seat and a huge amount of cash. Needless to say, I built my opinion on that suspect really quick. His action at the moment told me all I needed to know about him. he immediately was a POS in my book. Yes, you shouldn't judge people by the cover, but their actions, absolutely. One thing that I never had patience for is mistreating children, ever. So the last few days, I've heard people at work everywhere telling me how ICE is so low, how they're murderers, they're wrong, they're the KKK, they're ransoming kids, they're kidnapping people, and they're using them for bait. And all I looked online was a picture of this little kid, sad little kid, which, by the way, changed because we have now another leftist martyr, with captions saying, ICE detain a 5-year-old, low of the low. They are kidnapping children. They are separating families, blah, 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 blah. It's infuriating because, honestly, when I wore the badge, there were reports out there that were making us look like we were always doing something wrong. Us, the force, the police force. I remember cameras sometimes in places that we went to, and they're recording us, and then the reports had nothing to do. They would spin it to a way where people just believe it, and that's just wrong. Just like the incident I shared with you just now, that POS left his 4-year-old child alone in a hot car, the back seat, in his little car seat. Ran off. Car still running, by the way. The engine was still in. He just ran. Obviously, thankfully, he got tackled by the recruiter. Well, the little recruit trooper, I should say. And, which was much smaller than the guy in size. It was kind of funny, really. Well, not funny because he got hurt in the process, but he got pepper sprayed and brought back. And everyone in the neighborhood put out their cameras. Everybody. They had cameras. That was camcorders back then. Some people had cameras on their phones, so they were using their phone, but they had camcorders, and they were recording us. And all you would hear was how we were mistreating the suspect, how we didn't have to drag him, back to his car like that, how there was so much police brutality. Meanwhile, this baby's in the back seat, and we're tending for the child, right? We're trying to make sure the child's okay. He's not harmed. God forbid the troopers would have pitted this car with that baby in there. I would never want to be in that position to hurt a child, even though it wasn't, our fault. But that baby was in harm's way. His dad put him in harm's way. In today's world, with everyone having cameras on their phone, their cars, doors, everywhere, there's always a chance to show you the point of view with just a little editing, a little spin, of course, twisting the truth with numbers like they try to pull this next video with Christine. Check it out.
An individual this week that was raping children. I think those parents in Minnesota can sleep better at night knowing that that person isn't free.
Sure, but you just said millions. What's the breakdown of the percentage of those who you have in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense versus just the civil infraction?
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you guys keep changing your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts, is that 70% of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what...
If we went to do a quick search or the definition of law, it says the system of rules which a particular country or community recognizes as regulating the actions of its members and which it may embrace the imposition of penalties. A rule defining corrective procedure or behavior in a sport. So how do we define crime, which is the argument here? An action or omission that constitutes an offense that may be prosecuted by state law and punishable by law. an act or activity that is considered to be shameful, wrong, or mistaken. Immigration laws have been in place probably longer than most of all these protesters been alive. Yet the media, as you saw there, tried to skew the numbers as though, what ICE is doing is wrong because they're only catching 45% bad guys. Based on liberal reporting, of course, is the number of those immigrants only commit crimes, is what they're saying. But Kristi Noem puts her in her place and lets her know that they are all committing a crime, i.e. entering the country illegally and staying here. Then she says 70% of violent criminals have been caught, but at the end of the day, they're not supposed to be here regardless. So if Congress passed these laws many years ago, by the way, before this administration was even in office, and ICE has operated fine for all these administrations except 2 occasions as of recent, right? 2017 to 2020, 2024 till now. So what has changed? I think we all know the answer to that because it's in the question. I'll let you figure it out. I'm going to let these 2 brothers and sisters in Christ break it down for you so it could probably be explained a little bit better than me.
Protesting ICE today, but you voted for it in 2008. You ever ask yourself, why is it that the party that is so upset about mass deportation today is the same party that ran on mass deportation back in 2008? No one protested when Obama put kids in cages back in 2010. No one protested when Obama separated families back in 2010. You had no problem supporting mass deportations back when you liked the president that was doing it. Plain and simple. Get off of your high horse. Stop with this I need to save the world mentality and accept the fact that the only reason you're protesting, the only reason you're arguing against this is because you simply want to hate Donald Trump.
Let's debunk the latest liberal lie about ICE in less than 2 minutes. Ready? Let's go. So you've probably seen this picture circulating on social media. This is Liam Conejo Ramos, a 5-year-old that the news articles and the liberals are saying was detained by ICE most recently in Minnesota. Now, the facts of the matter paint a far different picture. Liam's father is named Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, and he was an ICE target for deportation because he was allowed in illegally from Ecuador during the Biden years. The fact of the matter is, Adrian saw these ICE officers approaching, and he chose to flee on foot and leave his own 5-year-old in the car. This is according to the official statement from the Department of Homeland Security. And ICE has a policy. They do not want to separate children from their parents who are being deported when and if at all possible. So they sent Liam to the front door to knock on the door to make sure there was an adult there at the house at all and make sure he'd not been abandoned altogether. But of course, your average leftist now is going to sit there and say, oh, well, the Department of Homeland Security, they are lying. I don't trust the government, right? These are the same people who rolled up their sleeves 5, 6, 7 times a few years ago to take a government enforced shot so they can get a free donut and a side of fries just a couple years ago, right? These people change their positions quicker than a weather vane in a hurricane. But now they want to sit there and share fake news and share these news articles designed to whip you into a frenzy and to obfuscate the actual facts. And it is our obligation to make sure that we debunk these stories in real time and correct the record as quickly as possible before these stories are allowed to spread. So if you know someone out there, if you're unfortunate enough to have a liberal friend or family member who is susceptible to falling for these fake news stories, share this video with them as soon as possible so we can get the truth out while there's still time. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
So you heard it from the people with common sense. And like the gentleman in that video said, share this video with your liberal friends. And hopefully they agree, or at least give you a valid argument as to why what ICE is doing is wrong. Not by feelings, but by facts, by law. So going back to the young lady, she was referring to back in 2008. Yes, everybody's favorite charismatic, oh my God, first black president, Barack Obama. Check this out.
You know, I'm the president of the United States. I'm not the emperor of the United States. My job is to execute laws that are passed. And Congress right now has not changed what I consider to be a broken immigration system. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that we have certain obligations to enforce the laws that are in place, even if we think that in many cases the results may be tragic. There are going to be some stories that break our hearts. And more importantly, we're going to continue to have an economy that is stifled by a really inefficient system where not only are we deporting folks, but we also have a legal immigration system that is so bottlenecked that it forces sometimes people into the illegal system.
Man, I bet y'all didn't know Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Hussein Obama. Was a conservative. Oh, yeah. But wait, he was not. He was actually deporting a ton of migrants, but because majority of these people hate Trump more than what they love their country, America. That is the only reason why you have media and politicians pushing this side, feeding us manure. Talk to you later.